Leave your hair looking radiantly alive. And Crest toothpaste with Floristan. And now here he is, Mr. This Is Your Life himself, Ralph Edwards.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to This Is Your Life. Now watch and listen.
The Charlie teenage crush.
The record that you're hearing was introduced by tonight's subject on the Kraft Television Theater's production of Singin' Idol just 2 months ago. Now, he's one of the youngest subjects we've ever had. A lad who has hit teenage America like a bombshell. Right now, he's behind this door in the studio here with our old friend Tennessee Ernie Ford, who's being interviewed by Jim Bacon of the Associated Press. Now, Ernie and Jim know that we're going to interrupt their conversation, but our subject doesn't. Well, let's walk into the studio now and see what happens. Hello, Ernie. Hi, Jim. How are you? Good to see you, boys.
Thanks alive. I've heard this before. How are you?
Well,
Ralph?
I'm fine. Who are you got?
Met my friend Tommy, Mr. Bacon, you know. Jim
Yeah, I know
Bacon.
Jim. Hello, Jim Bacon. Nice to see you, Tommy.
Sands.
No.
How are you,
Hiya,
Mr. Edwards?
Tommy.
Very nice to know you.
Well, nice seeing you. I feel as if I know you pretty well. Do you want to tell him, Ernie, or should I?
Ralph, you say it so well, and I want to hear you say it, Ralph.
Well, Tommy Sands, hold on to your hat because 30 million people are waiting for me to say tonight, this is your life. I get the feeling like this studio is sort of a action ground for us. How about this guy?
Ralph, you have made a wonderful choice in picking a young fella here, and he is really young, and to show the people across the country that it isn't so easy for a young person to start out and make a name for themselves like this fella is. It takes friends, discouragement, and hard work, and you picked the right fella.
Ernie, you're so right, and certainly you, Tommy, have had your share of all these. Our thanks to you, Tennessee Ernie Ford, who's been one of Tommy's closest friends. We'll be looking at your show tomorrow night. Gang, we'll all be watching. What a cast. Must be a big show tomorrow night.
Thank you,
The Ford show. And thank you, Jim Bacon, very much of the Associated Press for helping us surprise this young man tonight. Oh, what an evening we're in for. Tommy, if you'll come with me across the hall to our studio, let's see how a little boy with a great desire to sing, he wants to shake hands with you here.
I just want to say it's been swell. When you get over there, this man will put you through the ringer.
It's a most exciting career. And while we go, here's Bob Warren with a girl who plans to keep them guessing. Come on, Tommy.
Well, looks like someone's getting ready for the masquerade ball.
That's the audience out there, Tommy. Oh, thank you, Bob Warren. Come on, sit down here, Tommy Sands. Ernie Ford says, well, I got in on it. That entitles me to the party, doesn't it?
We were going to go over and have a meal, you know, and I was starved to death, but now I don't think I could eat a bite.
You're going to have the meal afterwards, and old Ernie will be over there, too, the whole gang. Tommy Sands, just 2 weeks ago, tonight, you were singing Dmitri Tiomkin's theme song from Friendly Persuasion at the Academy Awards.
Yes, sir.
Quite an honor for a young man who only 9 months ago came to Hollywood. Completely unknown. Now, this past Sunday, you were in New York singing on Steve Allen's show. Tomorrow night, you're appearing with Jack Benny on The Shower of Stars.
Yes.
And on May 9th, you open at the Roxy Theater in New York City. Now, how could all of this happen so quickly to a boy only 19 years old? Well, let's find out. This is your life, Tommy Sands.
The Charlie teenage crush.
That's it. That's your own voice we're hearing, Tommy. The song you introduced on the Singin' Idol, and that has become one of the best-selling records. That was the Kraft TV show you did. The best-selling records in the country, Teenage Crush. But at the time that you're born, at Grant Hospital in Chicago on August 27th, 1937, There's certainly no thought in anyone's mind that someday cheering teenagers would be following the every move of Thomas Adrian Sands. We understand, however, that you started singing when you were still in diapers. Is that right?
I was trying.
Yeah, there's a picture of you. You just got a little bit of it there. And that when you were about 4 years old, you'd stand outside the hotel in which you were living and whistle at the girls. Can you remember back that far or not, Tommy?
I still do.
You do?
If Tommy can't, I certainly can.
Remember the minstrel show we put on at the Fullerton Presbyterian Church in Chicago?
Two friends of yours from your Chicago
Ronnie
days.
Nelson, I'll
Tommy, yes indeed. Come on out, specialist second class Sidney Lewis,
And
flown
Sid-
here from Yokohama, Japan. Airman first class Ronnie Nelson, at the Glenview Naval Air Base in Glenview, Illinois. Oh boy, this is quite a reunion, isn't it, Sid?
Yes, it is. I haven't seen Tommy in about 3 years now.
Yeah.
Growing up, they outgrew me.
You did it? You all were pretty close buddies back in Chicago, weren't you, Sid?
Yeah, we sure were, Ralph. I remember one time when Ronnie and Tommy here and I were all up at his place reading comic books.
Yeah.
Next morning, I woke up with measles, or with the mumps, rather. Tommy woke up with the mumps, but Ronnie...
You never got
I was lucky, but Tommy didn't let me get away with that, though. He fixed me up later. I had a date with him, or for him, with this little gal, and we were to double and go to a movie. And, well, Tommy came to the movie a little bit later after we had gotten there, the two girls and myself, and he stayed about 10 minutes, and then he says, well, Ron, he says, I've got to get home. He got up, walked out, and left me sitting there with the two gals. Remember that?
Well, Tommy was interested in performing even as a young boy, wasn't he, Sid?
Yes, he was. We did that minstrel show over at the Fullerton Presbyterian Church, and we were pretty good. They took us out in the South Side. We did a couple more performances. Tommy was a little disappointed. There was no rock and roll in the show.
Well, thank you, Sid Lewis and Ronnie Nelson, for being here tonight. You and Tommy will really have a chance to talk about old times later on at the party at the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel, where all of your friends are going to stay.
Gonna get a girl, because I ought to have a girl.
While Chicago was your home, you and your mother would take yearly trips to visit your uncle and aunt, who lived on a farm outside of Shreveport, Louisiana. Remember?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And one of these trips, when you're about 8 years old, you listen to the radio every morning. You hear Harmy Smith and Otis Eccles, singers of country songs, on radio station KWKH in Shreveport.
Yes, sir.
Tommy told me that he'd rather meet Harmy Smith and Otis Eccles than anyone in the world.
No need to tell you who that is,
That's
Tommy.
Mama.
Your number one fan, your mom, Mrs. Grace Sands. Oh, Mom. Come on, stand over here. I tell you, she's so happy this thing is finally underway, Tommy. She's had to keep this secret. I bet you wondering why she...
You know, I was wondering why she was so nervous. We were just going over to Mr. Ford's to eat dinner, you know, and she was so down.
What happened?
We couldn't hardly get her in the car. She said, I'm not going to go, I'm not going to go.
Oh, I tell you, it's really been a chore, but bless your heart, Miss Sands, it's really worked out and we fooled this guy. What happened when you took Tommy to meet Harmy Smith, Miss Sands?
Harmy taught Tommy several chords on the guitar.
Mm-hmm.
And when I found that Tommy was really enthusiastic, I bought him a 25-cent chord book. Do you remember, son?
Sure do, Mom.
You had written a letter to Santa Claus, Tommy, requesting something for Christmas, I think. What, hadn't you? What was that?
Yes, sir. It was, well, I asked for a horse and for a guitar, and mostly a guitar, though. That's what I wanted.
And Santa did pretty well by Tommy, didn't he, Miss Sands?
Yes, he got the guitar, and the following spring, his brother bought him a pony.
Yes, I should say. And here is your brother, Tommy, Dr. Edward Deem of Anaheim, California.
You know how proud we all are of you, Tommy. Carol and the kids are watching in tonight, and they all send their love.
They sure
I
are.
wish they
Wave
could
to them
be
out
here.
there, the little kids right out there. They want to see Uncle Tommy. Thank you, Mrs. Sands, Dr. Dean. Thank you. We'll see Tommy a little later. Yeah, Tommy boy.
Hey, you're adorable. B, you're so beautiful. C, you're a cutie full of charm.
Now that you have a guitar, you spend every possible minute practicing. A year goes by. You're 9 years old now and back in Shreveport again. Usually we're saying 50 years and 70 or 39 years old. Your mother wants to buy you a new and better guitar, but she must pay so much a week until you can actually take it out of the shop. And then comes the day of the last payment. You and your uncle go into town, and he drops you off at the music store to pick up your guitar. And you're to meet him later at the city hall, but you didn't show up. What happened, Tommy?
Well, I remember I got the guitar and I was walking down the street, and I walked by this radio station that my favorite Harmy Smith and Otis Eccles and all those guitar players were playing on, you know, and I just wanted to go in, you know, and sing for him. So I went in, and Otis Eccles was there, and he had a program, and I auditioned. It's pretty hard to remember. It's so far back.
Otis Jr. kind of put the good word in, didn't he, to his
sure
father?
Did, yeah. I'll never be able to repay him for that.
And Otis Sr. let you sing right away then, almost.
He let me sing, yes, sir. And I remember my uncle nearly had a heart attack when I was on the radio because it was his favorite program, you know.
Sure. Your folks at home had no idea that this was happening. But they had the radio tuned up to Pop Eccles' program, and there you were. How was Tommy on his premiere appearance, Mrs. Sands?
Unbelievably bad.
Unbelievably bad. But Pop Eccles took
pretty bad.
Well, Pop took a liking to you, Tommy. You appeared with him once a week for the rest of the summer.
Yes, sir.
You're only 9 years old.
Tommy was not only a success singing on the radio at this time, but he also took a turn at preaching.
Well, now, there's the voice of someone you used to call your second mother. Do you know who it is?
Prosper.
Yes, your Sunday school teacher at the Greenwood Methodist Church in Greenwood, Louisiana, Mrs. James Prosper. Oh, dear. What is this about Tommy's preaching, Mrs. Prosper?
Oh, Tommy was so enthusiastic about his church and Sunday school that he thought he wanted to become a minister.
Mm-hmm.
Tommy, I'll always remember you standing on the soapbox, preaching your 9-year-old heart out to 2 little country boys. And they looked up at you with such devotion.
But although Tommy hasn't turned out to be a preacher, Mrs. Prosper, he's kept his deep religious feelings, hasn't he?
Yes, he has, Ralph. In spite of all of this wonderful glamour and acclaim, Tommy still goes to church once a week. Mm-hmm. If I could have had a son, Tommy, I would have wanted him to be just like you.
Thank you, Mrs. James Prosper, Greenwood, Louisiana.
It's great to be an outlay, wagging my baby back home.
How you doing, boy?
Wow, this is some dinner.
After appearing for the summer with Pop Eccles, you returned to Chicago. Your father, Ben Sands, is a musician with Art Castle's dance band. He's on the road a good bit of the time, and it's always a happy reunion when he comes back to town. Well, this is your life, and your dad is a mighty important part of it. So come on out, Mr. Ben Sands of Chicago. Come on over here. Just stand by the couch. Yeah, you saw Dad last week when you went back for
he didn't make out like anything was going to happen. You know?
No, we keep secrets. When Tommy came home after this summer in Shreveport, he did several shows in Chicago, didn't he, Mr. Sands?
Yes. He was put on the BKB barn dance, and from this, he joined the Lady of the Mountain show with Barbara Allen Rogers and Mary Jane Johnson. You remember that show, don't you, Tommy?
Sure, I'll never forget it.
You're on the Lady of the Mountain program for about a year, Tommy. And it's also now, and great change is about to take place in your young life. What it is, we'll find out in just a moment. But first, Dad, you stick around and chat with Tommy for a minute. And let's listen to Gordon Dilworth as he sings us a ballad about a fisherman named Win. Been visiting with the family back here. Let's get back to the story of your life. Sit down, me lad. We're in Shreveport, Louisiana. The year is 1950. You're 12 years old. This is your life.
Steady, too young, I say. She said.
You know that singing is to be your career now. You appear on the Louisiana Hayride radio program every Saturday night. You meet a man named Tillman Franks who handles talent on the Western Circuit around Shreveport, and he takes you to Houston, Texas, hoping that he can find additional work for you there.
Remember the old jalopy you and your mother drove to Houston town?
Well, I'm sure I don't have to tell you who that is, Tommy. Yes, indeed. The man who gave you a real break when you needed it. He's flown here from New York on the Philip Morris Country Music Show. Your friend, Biff Colley.
For 2 days I sat in New York waiting for you.
Biff, get him over here. These young ones get away from me. I can handle the older ones, but... Did things go pretty well for Tommy in Houston, Biff?
Well, he was a pretty busy guy.
Thanks to you.
Yeah, wait a minute. Going to school in the daytime and working on singing jobs at night and on weekends.
Yes.
But his mom, Mrs. Sands, was working as a sales lady there in Houston at Foley's department store, and Tommy sort of supplemented the family income with every kind of job that he could make because needed it to pay the bills. But, of course, Tommy loved to sing, so it was really not much of a situation of work as far as he was concerned.
On top of all this, Tommy had always wanted to be an actor. I shall never forget his performance in our production of The Magic Fallacy.
Yes, another friend of yours, Tommy. You've said that if you ever did a play on Broadway, you'd want her to direct you. Miss Nina Vance of the Alley Theater in Houston, Texas. Here's this one. You were casting a child's part in a play when Tommy was brought to your attention. Is that not right?
Yes, I was. A number of young children had been interviewed, but when Tommy was brought in, I was so impressed with his ability, his talent, his natural good manners, that I cast him as the lead in the play.
Yes. Had you ever really acted before, Tommy?
Well, that's a funny thing, because all through school I wanted to get in the plays, you know, but they wouldn't put me in them.
So along with school and working at singing jobs to help with the family finances, you accept the part, which means long hours of rehearsals.
But it all worked out very well. Tommy worked for 8 weeks in The Magic Fallacy, and at the end of that time, because of his fine acting job, he was selected by a committee from newspaper critics to receive the Sidney Holmes Memorial Award as the Outstanding Young Actor of the Season, 1951, 1952.
Thank you, Nina Vance, for taking time out from your busy schedule to be here with us tonight. And Tommy, I know that everyone in Houston will want to see your present production of A View from the Bridge, followed by The Lark. Good luck, and thank you so much. You stick around here with us, Biff. You stay here. Here in the early 1950s, you, Tommy, are enjoying quite a bit of success, right, Biff?
He is that, Ralph. You know, an audience, as a rule, will take to a young'un who can sing or do something passably well. And as a kid, Tommy sang and sold very well.
Yeah.
Of course, when he got into his teens and his stature, his voice, and his appearance changed, he found it a little tougher going because he had tougher competition.
And when things did get discouraging, Tommy, and you felt like chucking the whole thing, what would Biff Colley tell you?
Well, he'd always come to me and have something real nice to say, and that's why I always will consider him like a...
Look out.
Well, I don't know. He was just so much help to me. He always told me to keep going and not to worry and to work. And he always said quality was the main thing, and if you had quality, someday it'd pay off.
Right. Thank you, Biff Colley. Thank you so much.
I love you like I do.
1954, things just aren't going well at all for you in Houston. Colonel Tom Parker, Elvis Presley's manager, tries to help you, but jobs are scarce. And while you want to sing, there aren't enough people who want to listen to 16-year-old Tommy Sands. And you go back to Shreveport and find a job as a 7-hour-a-day disc jockey over radio station KCIJ and work there from September until June of 1956.
In July of 1956, Tommy and my mother came out here to California to visit me and to seek greener pastures for Tommy's talents.
So at 18, you arrive in Hollywood, Tommy, without a job, without knowing anyone here in the entertainment business, and with very little money.
But Tommy's desire to sing was not to be denied.
Yes, another of your friends, Tommy, a guy who has helped so many people, including our pal, Tennessee Ernie Ford. Cliffy Stone, the one and only Cliffy Stone. Tommy called and asked if he could sing for you, didn't he, Cliffy?
That's right. He called me on the phone, so I said, well, come out and sing for me at Hometown Jamboree. And he did, and he didn't seem to be like really Tommy. It sounded like somebody else, so I said, Tommy, don't impersonate, just be yourself, and maybe you'll make it on your own talent. So he came back, and the people loved him, and Tennessee Ernie Ford saw him on our show and asked him to be on his network television show, and that was it.
You bet. That was it. And thanks to you, Cliffy Stone, for taking your place in Tommy's life. Well, the rest is fast and furious, Tommy. Your appearance on the Singin' Idol, your singing at the Academy Awards, your appearances on the major nighttime television programs, and more, too, which we'll talk about later. Tommy, how does it feel to have all of this success come so suddenly?
Well, it makes me think back for about 11 years, I guess, all the years that I've been in show business. It makes me think of all the wonderful people that I've met, and I realize that it's not my talent. I realize that because everybody, whether it was Harmy Smith or Otis Eccles or Cliffy Stone or my mother, anybody that's in this room tonight, Colonel Tom Parker, they've all been such a help to me. And without these people, and without the people out there, I know that none of these wonderful things would have happened.
Tommy, right now, let's go back in time again to the little boy with his brand new guitar and his first great desire to sing, and to the man who gave that desire expression. You haven't seen him since you were 9 or 10 years old, but it wouldn't be your life without him. Here from radio station KCLV in Clovis, New Mexico, is Otis Pop Eccles.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, Tommy. You know, Tommy, it's wonderful to see you after these many years. You know, I knew you as a little boy, a talented little boy down in Shreveport. That's right. And I'm happy to say that I'm mighty glad that I played my small part in making you and putting you where you are today. You're a real star, and millions of young people are going to follow you across the nation. You realize that?
Well.
And I know you're the type of fellow that will live up to that responsibility. That's right. Thank you, sir.
Come on, gang. Sit right over here. Only 19 years of your life have gone by, Tommy Sands, but you've already filled them with hard work and excitement. The horizons are bright for you, and there's no predicting to what heights your star may rise. But whatever heights you reach, we know you'll always wear your mantle of fame with dignity. Now, we'll talk more about that in a moment. First, you hold Mom's hand, stick around there. Let's show all the gals watching how to look their exciting best any season of the year with liquid. Prell had Marshall Jewelers of New York City design this handsome gold money clip and matching cufflinks and tie bar for you, just specially designed records and so forth for your mother. Here you are, boy. Prell has this beautiful gold charm bracelet, each charm a memento of some memorable event in your life, and for Dad, a pair of cufflinks to remind him of his son, too. And we also have for you a complete film of tonight's program and the 16mm Bell & Howell motion picture sound projector and camera. Well, you're going to be a busy boy, Tommy. You've just signed a movie contract with 20th Century Fox. As you may have read in Daily Variety today, Buddy Adler, your new boss, expected to be here in somebody's life tonight. It was to be yours, but at the last minute, he was called out of town. On your way to New York in the Roxy Theater there, May 9th, the Kraft TV Theater, just before it, you'll be stopping off at Truth or Consequences, New Mexico for their 8th annual fiesta, April 25th through 28th. So that you'll feel right at home. Here's a cowboy hat. Bob Warren, let's have it. Put it on him, will you? To wear in the big parade there, boy. And most of the songs that we've heard you sing tonight are from your new long-playing Capitol record album, Steady Date, which will be in the record stores very soon. Your first record, Teenage Crush, has just gone over the top of the 1 million mark. And here's your friend Ken Nelson of Capitol Records with a really big surprise for you. Ken, what do you got to say here?
Both pride and pleasure. The Capitol Records presents you with this gold record in honor of the fact that Teenage Crush has passed the 1 million mark.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Music is your life now, Tommy Sands, and Prell would like to enrich your musical hours with this magnificent Magnavox high-fidelity Imperial Symphony radio, phonograph, and matching speaker, the finest instrument of its kind because it's a Magnavox. Now, we know that you've wanted this for a long time, and there it is, buddy boy. There are many more pages to be written as your life progresses. Tommy, many more. Tommy Sands. May those pages be filled with the same good fortune, good friends, and humility as the ones we have relived with you tonight. Good night, and God bless you, Tommy.
Our guests were flown here by TWA, Trans World Airlines, who now fly the newest and most luxurious airplane in the skies. Fly the finest. Fly TWA Super G Constellation.
Thanks, Bob Warren. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you'll want to join me in congratulating Ilsa Stanley, one of our principal subjects, for having written this fine book, The Unforgotten. It's in the bookstores today, and I'm sure you'll want to pick up a copy and relive with Ilse her exciting experiences in Nazi Germany and her years of adjustment to a new life here in America. Good luck, Ilse Stanley, with this wonderful book. Next week, ladies and gentlemen, we have another great life for you. Who is it going to be? We'll tell you next week. Be sure and be with us a week from tonight. Good night, all. Good night, Tommy. Good luck, boys.
This is Your Life is a Ralph Edwards production, produced by Axel Gruenberg and directed by Richard Gottlieb. This is Your Life has been presented by Crest Toothpaste with Floristan and by New Liquid Prel, the shampoo that's extra rich to leave your hair looking radiantly alive. Be sure to watch the Loretta Young Show next Sunday night over most of these same stations.
Coming up on Theater Talk.
And I went up and I sang for Julie Stein. And he said, great, can you sing something else? And so I asked the pianist if they could play Time After Time, because that used to be my favorite song. Time after time, I tell myself that I'm... And Julie said, what did you say you wanted to sing? And I said, Time After Time. I'll play it, I know it. So he played it, and I sang it, and it was just magic. And I said, you are so great. You played that song so great. And he said, well, I should have. I wrote it.
Theater Talk is made possible in part by the CUNY TV Foundation. From New York City, this is Theater Talk. I'm Susan Haskins.
And I'm Michael Riedel of the New York Post. Now, Susan, one of the defining moments in my life in the theater was when I was about, I think, 13 or 14. I came to New York with my mother. We went to see this show I'd never heard of before called Nine. And I think that's when I fell in love with the theater. I'd never seen anything in my life so elegant. I just remember swirling, elegant movement set in a beautiful white spa and 21 gorgeous women in black. And that's when I began my love affair, my admiration, my great respect for our guest, Tommy Tune, who directed and choreographed Nine.
Oh, my goodness.
And Grand Hotel, and My One and Only, and the Will Rogers Follies, and has given me so many fantastic nights in the theater, I can't tell you. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank
and
you.
congratulations
How
on your
kind. Thank you.
and congratulations on your Lifetime Tony Award. This is 10 for you, right?
It's 10.
And you said you didn't realize when they were doing the in memoriam that your good friend Mike Nichols also had 10.
Also had 10. That's something. He was my eternal teacher. Michael Bennett was my first Broadway mentor, and then Mike Nichols took over, and he just is still teaching me.
Yeah.
From elsewhere.
Right. Well, welcome to Theater Talk. Just to get your take on the Tonys and what they've become in all the years you've been going, you go back long enough when it was kind of a more informal sort of an event, and now it's become this big 6,000-seat Radio City Music Hall. Everyone's got 8,000 publicists, and Anna Wintour on the red carpet. Can you take us back to the very first Tony Awards you ever attended?
Yeah, it was for my first nomination for Best Featured Actor in a Musical, Seesaw.
Seesaw, right.
And it was at the Schubert Theater, and Alexander Cohen produced it, so it was a family affair. The Schubert Theater is not a big theater, medium, great theater. And he had stars at the doors greeting all the people coming in. I heard somebody say, "Beautiful as ever." And I turned to see who Beautiful as Ever was, and they were talking about Melina Mercuri, and she was standing right there in feathers, white feathers. And she looked over, and I went, "Oh, my goodness." And she looked, and I said, "Beautiful as ever," just like a parrot. And she said, "Ah." So when I was receiving, I won.
Yeah.
And I was receiving the award, and the theater, you're so close at the Schubert Theater. It's not like Radio City Music Hall. You can just see, and the house lights are slightly up. And I started making my speech, and I caught sight of her sitting in the middle, and she looked to be outlined in black with all this white feather. And I ended up making my whole speech right into the face of Melina Mercuri, and I couldn't stop talking. It's just great. And afterwards, I said, I was talking to you. He said, I saw you.
Beautiful as ever.
Beautiful as ever.
What do you make of how big the Tonys have become now? I mean, it's great for the business. It celebrates
it's great
it.
for the business.
But, I mean, I kind of miss the more informal, more family atmosphere.
Well, we're old-fashioned guys.
That could...
I like beauty and romance and uplifting. I do. I love that kind of show. But I also love this other thing. It's like Hollywood now.
Yeah.
There are the big studio blockbusters.
Yeah.
And then there are these independent films.
The Fun Homes versus the American in Paris.
Yeah, the Once versus whatever.
Yeah.
These crustier, more poignant, deeper feeling things. And it's just great. There's room for everything, for everybody's taste. And lots of people have both this that I love and they have that I also love. You go for the deeper stuff, for the poignant, the complicated, what's speaking to us today, what's our angst. And they're addressing it in musical form, which is interesting. But it's a different kind of score.
Yeah.
You know, one is lilting melodies and sweeps you out of your seat and makes you dance home. The other one, you have a lot to chew on.
Very internal.
Yeah, almost like straight play.
Yeah. These
Reaction.
smaller musicals like
Hand
Once.
of God. I couldn't talk to anybody for 2 days after I saw Hand of God. I just think that's an incredible play.
It's wonderful.
Come on, kid. I can't. God. Hey. Hey! Do you know how easy it is to find someone's home address on the internet? What did you just say? Fun fact number 2, the smallest of cuts, the Achilles tendon, will cripple a man for life.
And Stephen Boyer.
Yeah, the
Good
excellent,
heavens.
excellent actor.
How do you do that?
Yeah.
I told him afterwards, I said, what you're doing is the impossible. He said, don't tell me that or I won't be able to do it tomorrow night. It's magic, theater magic.
Now, you said last night, if I can remember correctly, you acknowledged your parents.
Yes.
And you said and that they encouraged you right away to be in the musical theater.
You see, my father's great dream for me was the same as every Texas father's dream for their firstborn son. They wanted us all to leave Texas, go to New York, and dance in the chorus of a Broadway show.
Well, I was speaking with irony.
I know. I was going to ask you, what did your parents make of little Tommy Tune, young Tommy Tune, in Texas, falling in love with Broadway?
Well, it was dancing.
Right, okay.
It was dancing, and both my parents were wonderful ballroom dancers. They were not famous. They were not professional. He would just take her in his arms and dance. And my mother was a flapper, and she taught me the Charleston. So there was dance in the Tune family house, and music, of course. So the dancing was not an odd thing for me to be doing, and odd in my father's eyes, which was great, because this is Texas in the 50s, and that's just not the way it was. I was the only boy in my dancing class. And my parents said I danced before I walked, that I would be crawling through the living room down home, and the music would come on the radio, and I'd get up on my hind legs and boogie. And then the music would go off, and I would get back on my and crawl. I had really not figured out how to perambulate, but I was choreographing.
Where did the theater, the love of musicals,
Well,
did
see,
that
we
begin?
didn't have that. The shows,
You weren't coming to New York like I was as a kid.
No. And the shows weren't coming to Houston because they would sweep through Dallas, which is in the middle of the state.
Right.
To come down all the way down. Houston, Texas is a big state. Come all the way down there, it cost them too much money, and there wasn't an audience. So I'd never seen one. So when I went to high school, the first day of high school, the counselor said, what do you want to major in? And I said, dancing. And they said, we don't offer that. But maybe you should go talk to the drama teacher. And I didn't know what it was. I'd never seen a play. And I met this woman who was just changed my life. And she said, well, the first thing we have to do with you is you have to go see a play. Here's a ticket to the Glass Menagerie. It's at the Alley Theater. Do you think your mother can take you down there? I said, yes. And it was starring Faye Bainter. And it was the Glass Menagerie, and the lights went down to complete black, like you've never seen black. And then it was in the round, and then the lights came up, and they were all in place, and he started and took us through this memory. And It was magic. And we were in downtown Houston, and we lived in the suburbs. And I was supposed to call Mom to come pick me up. I was in a state, so I just started walking. I walked down Main Street to Buffalo Speedway, and I kept walking, and it wasn't night till I got home, and I was just in a daze, and they were worried to death what had happened to me.
Huh. You walked all the way home from?
Yeah, I walked all the way home. It was miles.
How old were you?
Well, what's your first year in high school?
13? Yeah, 13, yeah. Did you even know what the play was about? Did you understand the themes, or you just haunted?
Somehow I got it, yeah. And then that was it. This was called theater. And I went, oh my God! So yes, I want to major in theater, in drama. And then a little girlfriend of mine who had a car, she was a rich girl from the River Oaks, and she said, I'm going to go see a dress rehearsal of The King and I. Do you want to come? Great. We went and we snuck in the back row. This was a community theater, and it was like Glass Menagerie, because they were, the lights went out and the lights came up and they were there, and they were talking a little bit louder than people talk, and it was the drama, but then they started to sing, and then when they couldn't sing anymore, they danced, and I went, well, this is it. It's Glass Menagerie, but it has all this other stuff that I love to do. And that was it. And I kept saying, what is this? And she said, it's The King and I. And I said, no, but what is it? It's not a play. And she said, well, this would be a Broadway musical. And that was the first time I heard that word.
Really?
And it became, then what we had was, I started looking at movies that had Broadway backdrops.
Right.
The milieu of Broadway.
Stage door canteen and
that stuff.
That kind of stuff.
And I was more interested. They would have a scene with the main characters in the wings having an argument, but you could look past them at what was going on that stage. that shot.
Oh yeah.
So you see it from the wings, which is still something I'd love to give the audience in a show. The view from the wing. Oh, it's so different than the view from the front.
That's right, because it's a tunnel. Because you're looking from the wings.
And the magic is so different, because the magic happens at the edge of the stage.
Right.
Because I learned that from directing and choreographing. I'd get a scene all together right on stage if I was in it. I never wanted to direct a show I was in, but sometimes it worked out that way. And I'd get it all right, and I knew it would be right, and then I'd have my stand-in do it, and I would go watch it. It would be totally wrong. And then I'd come back and fix it. No, I'd fix it from the audience, and then I'd come back and it would feel totally wrong up there, but it was right for there.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it's that one line that separates the proscenium from the audience. And that, when you cross that, there's a different perspective. Up here it's this, out there it's that.
Yeah, fascinating.
Night and day. It's unbelievable.
What brought you to New York?
I wanted to dance in the chorus of a Broadway show. That was my dream.
I remember your father said something about living high cotton.
Well, before I left, I said, how much money would I have to make, to get by in New York? And he said, well, I would say, Bo, he called me, I would say that if you could work your way up to making $100 a week, you would be in high cotton. So the first day in New York, I went to an audition, and I got the job, and I went to sign my contract, and it was for $90 a week. So I called Dad, and I said, I'm almost in high cotton.
Now, what was that job?
That was Irma La Deuce. It was a show that had just finished playing, and then they were sending a road company out. So I got my dream came true. I got in the chorus of Irma La Deuce, and we went all over the country.
When you were in Irma La Deuce, you said you didn't really have any intention of becoming a director. Was there a moment in your life where you began to realize what a director does, and you think, that's what I can do?
I always did it. We would play Cowboys and Indians at Barry Bradley's house, and Cops and Robbers at Jimmy Springer's house, and at my house we'd play Putting on a Show. And I was just naturally bossy, and so I just got the kids together and galvanized them. We'd put on shows. It was called the Patio Review, and we did about 8 summers of the Patio Review on our patio, and we would charge, and then we would give it to the Orphans Milk and Ice Fund. We were a hit.
So it was there from the beginning, the idea that you could see the...
I just made up shows, yeah.
I want to talk a bit about two of your mentors. You mentioned them, Mike Nichols earlier, but let's talk first about Michael Bennett.
Yes, he was my first Broadway mentor.
And you tell a story in a book I have coming out in the fall.
Indeed.
And what's the name of that book?
It's called Razzle Dazzle, The Battle for Broadway. But I want to give you to give us a sense of that place that was called the Variety Arts, where you first met Michael Bennett.
That was the epicenter. That was the epicenter of Broadway. All things Broadway. Shows auditioned. Well, no, shows auditioned in theaters.
Right.
But they rehearsed in Variety Arts.
Where was it?
Okay. It's a parking lot right now, and it's across the street from the 46th Street Theater, the Richard Rogers Theater.
Right.
There's a parking lot there.
Right.
And it was like a 6-story building. Edison Hotel entrance is here. The
Imperial Theater.
No, it's those the Tom Cruise.
Oh, the Scientology.
Scientology buildings there.
Right.
And this was here. Okay.
Right.
And there was this woman in there that did the switchboard, but she was really central casting. She'd say, I remember one day I came in. She said, "You're a tall, swarthy gypsy type. Get over to the Schubert Theater. They're casting Bajur." Peter Gennaro's looking for tall, swarthy gypsy types. That's the first time I saw Chita Rivera, because she was the star of the show. And I think they needed one more guy, and there was a whole lineup of us. And I heard her say, the face. She was talking about me, and it was cool that she liked my face, but I didn't get it. But Michael Bennett was in that show, but I didn't know him then.
You didn't know him.
But I met him in Variety Arts.
Right.
Variety Arts was there. There was the rumor, and it became true, that Bob Fosse had a key to Variety Arts, and he could go there at any time of the day or night when the muse moved him. And we would be coming home we'd be coming home from shows, dancing in the chorus, and we'd look up and say, "Bob Fosse's making a new show."
Oh, you could see the lights on.
The light up on the fourth floor.
I think that scene is in all That Jazz.
Quite possibly.
He goes in the middle of the night with his daughter into a rehearsal studio, and he's working out dance movements in the.
He would just work through the night.
So you are going in the Variety Arts, and you run into this little guy in the elevator, I think.
Yeah, and he looked at me and said, "Well, who are you?" And I said, "My name is Tommy Tune. Do you think I should change it?" And he said, "Not if you want to go around being Tommy Tune." I paused, I thought, and I went, who else would I want to be?
Right.
You got to get with it. You got to get with what you've been given. So I decided I didn't want to change my name. People thought I should change my name.
Because it just seemed too hokey,
too phony. Phony.
But it's not. That's your real name.
It's my real name.
So Michael Bennett looks up at you, says, "Don't change your name." But you're going to another audition, are you not? And he's working.
Yes, I'm going. Julie Stein was producing the opening show at Caesar's Palace. Caesar's Palace was opening in Vegas. It was going to be the biggest, grandest casino in the world. And the opening show, Julie Stein had been chosen to produce it and put it on. So I was going up to audition for that because I thought it'd be so much fun to be a chorus boy in Vegas. Because you get to wear all those famous costumes, with the flash and the tails and the top hats. And
the sands and the whole...
Great. Yeah, this would be great. So I went up and auditioned, and they said, "Come back after lunch, and you're going to sing for Julie Stein." Okay, that's one story. But so I'm going up, and he said, "Well, where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to audition."
This is Michael Bennett asking.
And he said, "When you finish, come down to the third floor, and I want to see what you can do, and I want to show you what we're working on. I'm getting ready to choreograph my first Broadway show." So I went up and I did it. And they said, "Come back after lunch and sing for Julie Stein." But I said, "But I have to stop. I have to stop." So I stopped, and I went in, and he was there with Leland Palmer, who was his assistant at the time. And I saw 16 counts of the most fabulous choreography I had ever seen at that moment in my life. It was so great.
What was the show?
It was called A Joyful Noise. A Joyful Noise, starring John Raitt.
Right.
And he was using street and country put together.
And you still remember those steps all these many years?
I know that combination.
Really?
I know it. My body, my muscles have that memory. I can do that step, not here. I can do that. I really can. I can do that number. It never left me.
And then you didn't go back up to audition for Julie?
Well, no, he didn't offer me a job.
Right.
But after lunch, and I went up and I sang for Julie, and that went extremely well.
Yeah.
That's another side to this story. Should I digress?
No, go ahead. Yeah. Tell us about
I
Julie's
sang
side.
my song, and he said, "Great, can you sing something else?" And so I asked the pianist if they could play "Time After Time," because that used to be my favorite song. Time after time, I tell myself that I'm
so lucky.
And he said, "Gee, I don't know it." And Julie said, "What did you say you wanted to sing?" And I said, "Time After Time." "I'll play it, I know it." So he played it, and I sang it, and it was just magic. And I said, "You are so great. You played that song so great." And he said, "Well, I should have. I wrote it."
You didn't know?
No, I didn't. I was a chorus boy singing a song that I loved. I didn't know Julie had written that song. So he said, "Come to my office tomorrow at 4:00. And I'm going to have some people there, and I want you to sing every song that you know." I didn't know many because this was before dancers were dancers and singers were singers. It was just coming on that they wanted the dancers to sing. The first show I was in, they said, "Dancers, move your mouths, but do not make a sound."
Right.
And then they had the big chorus of singers, because you used to have 16 dancers and 10 and 10, 20 singers to make that big, beautiful sound. So I went up, and Betty and Adolph were there. But I
didn't know who they were?
I know. But later I went, "Oh my God, that's who they were," when I finally met them for real. And he said, "Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to buy you suits. I'm going to send you to Buster Davis." He was his music guy who kept Buster Davis under contract. And he's going to put an act together, and we're going to try it out in the Catskills. So this was a derail, but at the same time I thought, I've still got it better. In case this doesn't work out, I still want to go to Vegas. So Michael sent Leland Palmer up to see the combination, because after we sang, then we danced again, and that's when I got the job. And Leland said, "Come back downstairs," and he said, "I want you to be in my show." And
Michael said that.
Yeah, but he said, and then Leland got up and did the combination that we had done upstairs.
For Vegas.
Yeah, for Michael. He said, this is what he was doing upstairs, and she could just see it and do it.
Right.
She had that kind of mind, and she made a mockery of it, and it was pretty. It wasn't top notch. And then she said, "Would you rather do that or this?" And then she went to that combination, and there was no contest. One was for a lot of money, and one was to get to do this choreography with this guy that just, he was a genius.
And he became your mentor and very good friend.
Yeah, we were very close. And Michael had a strange thing. I don't know if I told you this when we had our interview on the book, but he was scared in the morning to go to rehearsal. He didn't. And there would be time to go, and he'd go, "Oh, no, I can't, no, don't make me go, don't make me go, don't make me go." And I said, "Well, come on. Last night you were telling me what we're going to do today," because I was kind of assisting him and also helping him get to work.
Yeah.
I believed
he was a hard liver, Michael.
I believed in him, and I was always saved from that. I always have a built-in governor. I guess it's why I'm still alive, because I was certainly exposed to everything.
Yeah.
But if I tasted it or tried it and it didn't float my boat, then I didn't do it again. Yeah, so I'm lucky that way.
Michael was afraid in the morning, but then when you got to rehearsal, I remember you telling me, he'd be afraid to when you got him to rehearsal suddenly.
He would just put on his baseball cap and hit it.
Okay, folks, showtime, that kind of a thing.
Yeah, it was the strangest thing. I guess it's the insecurity of genius. And he said, "Don't use the G word." He was allergic to being called a genius, but he really was.
Yeah.
He really was.
But apparently when Picasso would wake up in the morning, Francois Gillot wrote this, she and Picasso's secretary would have to go and say, "Come on, get up, you're Picasso. Go to work, you're Picasso." All right, pick it up.
Basically, that's what it, he had this aversion to getting out of bed and getting ready and going to rehearsal. And it was really hard. And I think I lived about 6 blocks from him. Mm-hmm. So I was always coming to get him going and wake him up, bring coffee and all of that. I was just a volunteer to keep the genius on track.
Yeah.
And of course, it was just astounding to be with him because he'd go bananas at night with ideas, just out. And then in the morning he'd be afraid to go. I think his talent was so fearsome that I think it frightened him.
Yeah.
But once he got there, he would kind of go around and touch everybody and hold on to people. And if he was trying to get to something, he would just come up and hold you or have you put your arms around him. He would go like that and he'd say, now let me see. This is what I want to do. Okay. He needed that physical connection with the dancers. Yeah, he would touch them.
And then the magic happened.
And then it would happen. Yeah.
Very quickly, because we did introduce Mike Nichols earlier, what was it that you got from Mike as another mentor?
Oh, my God. Okay, well, the most important thing is I don't know. In the middle of something, if we're getting here with the show, and he said, so what should we do? And he says, I don't know. And that is the most important thing that you can admit as a director. Because young directors feel they have to know everything. No, it's this way. But once you get to and there always comes the moment in a show where you can't go forward and you don't know what's going to happen. And if you can just, if you know, of course you know. If you don't, say you don't know. He said, I don't know. Well, the minute he said that, the room changed. And then someone would say, well, I have a suggestion, yes. What about this? And the cleaning lady would say, he should just go over there and kiss her. And then Nichols would say, the best idea wins. Go over and kiss her.
That is Mike in a nutshell.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. I don't know.
I don't know.
All right, well, Tommy Tune, it's been a pleasure chatting with you. Congratulations on your Lifetime Achievement Award.
Thank you.
10 for Mike, 10 for Tune. Great pleasure having you, and please come back. We just, scraped the surface of this fantastic life in the theater.
This is great.
Anytime. You have an open invitation for that chair on Theater Talk.
Thank you.
It's all yours. Back. It's the Tommy Tune chair.
Our thanks to the Friends of Theater Talk for their significant contribution to this production. Theater Talk is made possible in part by the Frederick Lowe Foundation, the Corey and Bob Dinelli Charitable Fund, the Noel Coward Foundation, Carrie J. Fries, the Dorothy Strelson Foundation, plus public funds from the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs and the New York State Council on the Arts, a state agency.
We welcome your questions or comments for Theater Talk. Thank you and good night.